mainly asking because we looked at the social capabilities of CQs. They were very limited and almost non-existent.
Yeah, we have it as part of the kind of the.
I think Adobe Social, what it brings to you is analytics.
Yeah.
So the ratings, the blogs, the comments, all that stuff is part of CQ stuff. So you can get all these components out of CQ.
Yeah.
No, but even that, like, even something as basic as comments is like so basic, it's almost unusable.
So yeah, the Stanford's Medical Institute's model may not fit in, so you probably have to customize those components a lot. Out of the box may not work for you there. Yeah,
Okay.
those components.
That's good.
And that's a really interesting experience because you don't get the source code. You have to backwards engineer the
We looked at
goodness
it, we end up with a third-party solution for
And the
comments.
Java code is so bad, the protected elements there and stuff, and really bad code. I mean, you can't.
So yeah, who knows?
What percentage is on campus versus like student in terms of traffic to the site? I mean, because you're hearing alumni versus department. Is that how does that?
I mean, we've got, well, from a web author experience, and everybody's obviously on campus. We're off campus, so we've got users that are off campus.
In terms of audience.
Oh, audiences.
Audiences is our
Across the board.
analytics are, it's less than 20% in Stanford users, regardless of where they are. So it's 80% public. And in our case, it is fellow collaborators. In our case, we're known for research more than a doctor factory. So it's fellow collaborators. It's the NIH. We get a lot of government traffic, other institutions, fundraising. It's the general science-minded public in a lot of cases. So it's quite a broad set of personas.
And then how do departments? I mean, I imagine departments are kind of analytics, or would love to see analytics on their specifics. How do you work with that?
We have a few hundred Google accounts today. We basically run 2 property IDs on everything, so I can see everything globally in one property with a set of filters, and then we all have Google accounts as part of our single sign-on, so I can assign those users to profiles that they can basically do whatever they want with.
Are you planning to go to Google Tag Manager for tagging?
We're looking at it. Not sure that that's the right thing to do, but we're considering it. I mean, we probably will because we're going to implement it fresh, so we might just go with it.
So do you agree now SharePoint is nothing compared to Adobe AM?
I wouldn't say that. I would say they're both good for specific scenarios. I think SharePoint, in my experience with what I've used it for, and I've used it for an intranet, I've used it for an internet. A very good example is HP.com is SharePoint. It's just highly customized. And I can say that because I have friends who have worked in that environment as developers. So
they're moving to CQ, by the way. HP.
I hadn't heard that one yet.
Yeah, HP is migrating to CQ.
Is Cisco too?
Cisco as well.
Okay, yeah, I heard Cisco had that.
But I think SharePoint is very good for documents and content. So if you have lots of documents that you're sharing with people, I think SharePoint is a very good environment. I don't think it works very well, in my experience, training people on how to use it. It's hard to train people to be able to use it very well. And again, most people want the enterprise environment with all the bells and whistles, and I may have turned on 5 services and they didn't use the rest.
So let me ask the same question in a different way. Do you agree that Adobe AM is the best content management system in the world?
He's trying to get you on record.
Stanford says.
Stanford says. It definitely is the best for our purposes. It is the best for our purposes. And like I said,
Are you from Adobe?
Yeah, I was just going to ask the same question.
I've been using it for a while. I've used Vignette in the past, and I know Vignette was one of the first CMSs that came out in early 2000, in fact before 2000. And I don't know a single customer till today who's happy with it. And it was very expensive system, and all the promises were still the same, that do this and author this and all that stuff. No need for technical people, all that will be done. It never happened. Adobe AM actually, I've seen it from my own eyes. So the kitchen is always dirty. So developers still see the dirt, and I've seen developers saying this is not a system, so production worthy and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
so they have to do a lot of work. But once it comes to the authors, like what you're doing, from that point on, I mean, you have the templates, you have the components, you can do whatever you want to do.
And for my perspective and for what my mandate is with my web authors, is that's very important because they're not technical people, they're not developers, academics, managers, admins, you've got clinicians, lab people, and having an environment that is easy for them to use is very, very important. And that's one of the things that I like with Adobe CQ is it's an easy to use environment once you get to understand it. And for what we're looking to do in customizing the web author experience is something that is going to be very important. And a very good example is the welcome page. So you log in and you get to the welcome.html page. And it shows you, what are my recent websites and my communities and tags and blah, 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 all the way down on the left side. And then you've got a bunch of Adobe stuff over in that little black area on the side. We're looking to completely customize that page. So when somebody logs in, half of that stuff over on the side is going to be gone based on the permissions. They're going to see what it is that they need. And over on the right-hand side is where inline help is going to be. So I could, after training somebody, I could direct them to log into that page, and they've got help files that they can click on. They've got an inline video that they can click on. They've got all the resources within just that welcome page as a refresher. And that's just as a beginner. And then if I have an advanced user based on their permissions, I can tailor that page and content to them. And I like that idea. That makes me very excited. I'm beginning to kind of develop that. And we really want to have this inline user experience where they don't have to pick up the phone to call. They don't have to put in a help desk ticket for an issue. If we can offer them as much information, help videos, web pages, PDFs, things where they can self-service themselves and find the answer very quickly instead of having to wait for us to get to them, that's very important. Yes.
So, on this whole 800 sites that you guys are planning to release, how are you planning to manage the actual look and feel for the individual sites? Were they all just gonna look the same and just maybe a little bit different layouts based on what the authors are doing? Or can the medical group has everything in green?
We are going to release a handful of themes. I think it starts at 2 and maybe it goes up to 3 or 4. And the way we're doing this in the JCR is that we have a global Etsy design and global client libs that will be foundational. So our bootstrap, our grids, our color palette, fonts, and everything that's going to be standardized will be there. And then we're going to have then we'll have basically these themes that come into play. So every site, we'll call it, or I guess site, we'll just use the term, we'll choose a theme out of the 2 or 3. And so we have horizontal nav, vertical nav, and a couple of color options. And our hope is that if I choose this design, I have the designs inside the components or layouts and whatever that are compatible with that. So I'll filter it kind of at the site level. It's not going to be that easy to do, but we're working through this. So the goal is to kind of rein people in, and then we will give them a blueprint. When we provision a site, you'll get a blueprint with, say, 6 different pages that are fully annotated, stencil kind of things to show you how to use it. And then you can use those, or you can use pretty much blank column and create layouts. So from a layout perspective, they'll have some, within a canvas, they'll have some flexibility. But it won't be, oh, I want to change my menu over here, I want to change my dominant color to another color and things like that. So they'll choose a theme, and within that theme, they'll have some flexibility to play with it. We do have a theme called K2, which is going to be more of a toolkit. There's a handful of sites where we need totally custom sites, stay on brand, but kind of much bigger canvas to do more. So maybe some custom nav, full bleed images, and whatever we need. So for marketing purposes and different things, we'll have this kind of relief valve for custom designs. But we still will dictate color palette, fonts, and a couple of things around super navigation that have to stay there. So that's the theme, the visual design system as we call it.
And it's having some consistent branding for Stanford medicine across the board and giving people still flexibility to, I want one column, or I want 2 columns or 3 columns, I want this component or that component. So it's still giving them the flexibility to be able to manage their content within their page, but it's trying to keep the consistency of the brand there.
When you do have a microsite or something, does the administration ever come to you and say, oh, we've got a moneymaker, or we've brought in an outside agency, they'll deliver something to you, what do you do with a situation where like another firm is brought in?
We already have that.
You already have that.
Yeah, this happens all the time. Basically, we're going to set up a set of standards. It has to be in Bootstrap, have to use less, have to. So all of our standards, and so.
So they'll deliver code.
Yeah, yeah, and we actually will probably vet a couple of vendors and say, like the ones we're working with right now, we'll refer people to them and saying, this is a first search. They know how to deploy in our environment, because it's not just a course of just the agency. It's if there's a custom component or two, how do we build those into our system? And we have a whole Git build chain that not that we would allow them to push all the way to a release candidate, but they may build it to a certain point and then take it from there. I don't think we've worked all that out, but we have a chance to do that right away.
To kind of add to that, moving away from the support of a site like that, because something breaks, a vendor goes away, and then they have the expectation that we're actually going to support it. Well, we're moving away from that model of consultation, and if you're going to be within our environment, you kind of have to play by certain rules.
So you would say, why don't you do that and work for us over there?
Yeah.
If you want to be hosted in our environment, you've got to play within it.
Yeah, we do have cloud WordPress. If they need to do it, that's fine. Just go there for a while.
We saw, I think Intel, they have an agency come in and do the homepage, and it's all static code, except for the header and footer. CQ's only delivering the header and footer.
So you got hard-coded templates right in the middle.
Exactly.
Nice. That's kind of our plan B. If we can't hit our April date time to go live, we'll just quickly put in a bunch of markup into text properties.
Send HTML.
Yeah.
If it works, it works.
It's better than Dreamweaver still, ironically.
No, we're trying to figure out a way how to restrict the use of the free HTML component to either only certain people or to get an alert when somebody uses it.
Yeah.
We don't want to use it.
Yeah, that's, as I mentioned, it's turning it on only for certain people and based on permissions, because that's one of the things that we don't want to do is just have this component free for all that somebody decides to just pluck any code in there and then.
We're going to try to keep the ACL. I mean, one problem with this is if you get too granular, managing the ACL gets out of control. So with this many authors, we'll pretty much just have 2 groups. A site builder, which will have access to all the building tools, maybe some scripting, injection points or HTML, and then editors, and those people will need to be vetted and go through kind of internal certification, I would say. And then, we're going to run some auditing scripts just, once a month, just grepping through our whole site, looking for things, and then giving authors, looking for SEO issues, broken links, bad scripts, bad markup, whatever. So our plan is to use the workflow and reporting engines to watch out. It's something we don't have today. Today we just react. We have no proactive capability.
Yeah, I was just curious. You said your developers were pretty green coming into this project, so that you had a lot of training up front. What was your kind of time frame for training your developers, and then are they actually CQ certified?
No on the last question. They're interested in that, but, and I think they will end up that way, I'd say, within a year. Just because they put that on the resume, probably. So I can double their salary. I don't know how to answer the first one. It's been a little bit, they haven't sat down and looked at it. I would put it I would put it 6 to 8 weeks if I had to guess, to be even close to competent. Because you can build something in a class day number 2, but do you really know what you're doing? No. No, definitely not. You're just following instructions, so you're testing your ability to read, basically.
And that was our experience too. We actually, like the developers that are working on the CQ portion, they learned, I think, much more by working with our external partners.